Antediluvian Revelations, a poetic retelling of the Book of Enoch, the prophet. Part 3, Canto One, the Universal Laws of the Luminaries. This is the book of the revolutions of the luminaries of heaven as told to Enoch by the holy angel Uriel, because he conducts them. Uriel explained them to Enoch according to their respective classes, their respective powers, periods, names, the places where they commence their progress, their respective monthly cycles, and the whole account of them, according to every year of the world forever, until God determines to create a new heaven, which will be eternal. This is the first law of the luminaries. The sun rises in the east and sets in the west. The moon rises and sets also the same. There are 6 gates for the sun rising. There are 6 gates for the sun setting. There are 3 dawns, a golden hour, a blue hour, and daylight. There are 3 dusks, a golden hour, a blue hour, and night. In the blue hour which follows the 3 dawns of sunrise, the golden hour of the sun's rays escape in all directions, and the horizon appears as though it is on fire, bursting from the windows through trees and over hills. In the winter months the nights are longer than the days. In the summer months the days are longer than the nights. The phases of the sun are 12. There are 6 for the daytime and 6 for night. From the beginning of its phase for daylight, astronomical dawn is 18 degrees below the horizon. Nautical dawn is 12 degrees below the horizon. Civil dawn is 6 degrees below the horizon. Between civil dawn and the golden hour, the blue hour brings light into the sky, without the appearance of any part of the sun. The golden hour comes when the sun breaches the horizon, and its rays are spread across the land. The final stage is daylight, with the sun fully above the horizon. From the beginning of the phases for night, daylight gives way to a golden hour, and the sun begins to descend below the horizon. The blue hour is light in the sky without the sun above, or appearing any longer on the horizon. Civil dusk occurs with the sun at 6 degrees below horizon. Nautical dusk is at 12 degrees, and astronomical dusk is at 18 degrees. The night has come after these phases with the phases of the moon, and the light from it and the stars in the sky above. After the observations of the sun and the motions related to it, Enoch came to know the law of an inferior luminary, which all men commonly refer to as the moon, which is an orb the same as all others. Light is given to the moon when it rises in varying measures similar to the strength of wind. The moon travels through a cycle of change that lasts a month, and it is a cycle of renewal. This cycle is similar to the 12 phases of the sun, but there are only 8 phases for the moon. Waning, waxing, gibbous, crescent, new, full, first, and third are the names of all the phases without their combinations. Beginning with the new moon, which is not visible in the sky, the first phase is the waning crescent with light to the left, the darkness mostly to the right of the orb's face. This is followed by the phase of the third, which peaks at the top of the crescent period to have half of the face of this lesser light in darkness and half in light. The phase continues into the region of gibbous, with waning gibbous, similar to waning crescent, except that the light is a greater portion on the left. The waning gibbous gives way to the full moon, whose face is completely lighted for its time. The full moon gives way to waxing gibbous, with darkness on the left in a small portion, and the greater portion of light on the right. The cycle continues with the phase of the first, with half darkness on the left and light on the right. The final stage that follows the half is the waxing crescent, with lesser light on the right and greater darkness on the left before the moon goes completely dark once again to renew. Such as these are the 8 phases of the moon, which is a reflection of the sun, and it is this mirror of the sun which guides us in our journeys for all the nights and days of our lives. After these antediluvian revelations of the movements of the 2 luminaries over earth, Enoch came to know another progression and regulation which God gave to the law of the moon. The progress of moons and everything related to them, as Uriel, the holy angel who conducted them all, explained to Enoch their stations, and he wrote them down. Enoch wrote down their months as they occurred and the appearance of the light until it completed 15 days. In each of its 2 7 portions, it completes all its light at rising and setting. On certain months, the moon changes its settings, and on other months it makes its progress through each phase. In 2 of its phases, the moon sets with the sun, with those phases that are in the middle, which is the 3rd and 4th phases. From the 3rd phase, the moon goes forth for 7 days and makes a circuit. Again it returns to the phase whence the sun goes forth, and that completes the whole of its light. Then the moon declines from the sun and enters in 8 days into the 6th phase, returning in 7 days to the 3rd phase, from which the sun also goes forth. When the sun proceeds to its 4th phase, the moon goes forth for 7 days, until it passes its 5th phase, when it returns again in 7 days, until it passes the 5th phase. Again the moon returns in 7 days to the 4th phase, and completing all its light, it declines, passing on by the 1st phase in 8 days, returning in 7 days to the 4th phase, from which the sun goes forth. Thus Enoch beheld these stations, being the fixed order of the months the sun rises and sets. At those times there was an excess of 30 days, belonging to the sun in 5 years. All the days belonging to each year of the 5 years, when completed, amounted to 364 days. And to the sun and stars belong 6 days, 6 days in each of the 5 years, with 30 days belonging to them, so that the moon has 30 days less than the sun and stars, and a leap year occurs by this design. The moon in its cycle brings on all the years exactly, so that their stations may come neither too forwards nor too backwards for a single day. However, the years may be changed with correct precision in 364 days. In 3 years, the days are 1,092. In 5 years, the days are 1,820. In 8 years, the days are 2,912. To the moon alone in 3 years belongs 1,062 days. In 5 years, it has 50 days less than the sun, for an addition being made to the 1,062 days. In 5 years, there are 1,770 days, and the days of the moon in 8 years are 2,832 days. For its days in 8 years are less than those of the sun by 80 days, which 80 days are its diminution in 8 years. The year then becomes truly complete according to the station of the moons, and the station of the sun, which rise in the different phases, which occur in cycles of 30 days. These are the leaders of the chiefs of the thousands, those which preside over all creation, and over all the stars with the 4 days, which are added and never separated from the place allotted to them, according to the complete computation of the year, and these servicing 4 days, which are not computed in the computation of the year, respecting them men greatly err. For these luminaries truly serve in the mansion of the world, 1 day in the first gate, 1 in the third gate, 1 in the fourth gate, and 1 in the sixth gate. The harmony of the world becomes complete, every 364th state of it, for the signs, the seasons, the years, and the days. It was for all time that God had made this covenant with men, but it was broken in the sight of the Lord, by murderous men who were without God in his mercy. All of these days Uriel showed Enoch, because he was the angel whom the Lord of glory appointed over all the luminaries of heaven, in heaven and upon the earth, that they might rule in the sky, and appear in the heavens over the earth, become conductors of the days and nights, the sun, the moon, the stars, and all the ministers of heaven, which make their circuit with all the conveyances in heaven. The watchers are watching, and they see the souls of all men. Enoch saw these 12 gates open up for all of the winds, from which they proceed and blow over the earth. 3 of them are open in the front of heaven, 3 in the west, 3 on the right side of heaven, and 3 on the left, for a total of 12. The first 3 are those which are towards the east, 3 are towards the north, 3 towards the south, and 3 are on the west, for a total of 12. From all 4 of these proceed winds of blessing and health, and from 8 of these proceed winds of punishment, when they are sent to destroy the earth and the heavens above it, all its inhabitants, and all which are in the waters or on dry land. The first of these 12 winds from the east, which inclines southward, goes forth as destruction, drought, heat, and perdition, because it is no wind to light air flow. From the second of 12 to the middle of 3 proceeds equitable benefit, issuing light rain, fruitfulness, healthiness, and dew, being a light breeze, and followed by the third, which brings a gentle breeze of good nature. From another of 3 other gates in the south, through the gates in the middle of them all, comes a grateful odor, dew, rain, health, and life. They are moderate breeze, fresh breeze, and strong breezes. The winds from the west bring dew, rain, blight, and destruction, as moderate gale, fresh gale, and strong gale. After these are the last 3 of the winds, which are called by names of the sea. These proceed from 3 gates. The first is that which is on the east, being a whole gale, bringing mist, frost, snow, rain, and dew. The next is from the middle, proceeding southward, bringing storms with heavy frost, snow, rains, and blight. The last of all the 12 winds also has 6 varying degrees, with this western gate opening to unleash the worst of them all, bringing floods, complete destruction, and even death, as tornadoes and hurricanes, for the purpose of punishment. The account of the 12 gates of the 4 quarters of heaven is ended. All of their laws, their infliction of punishment, and the health by them, Enoch explained to his son, Methuselah. The first wind is called the eastern, because it is the first. The second wind is called the south, because the Most High there descends, and frequently descends there, he who is blessed forever. The western wind has the name of diminution, because there all the heavenly luminaries descend, decline, and become diminished. The fourth wind is called the north, and is divided into 3 parts. One is for the habitation of man, another for the seas of water, valleys, woods, rivers, shady places, and snow, and the third part contains paradise, in the midst of it surrounded by maelstrom, 7 high mountains higher than all others, higher than all the mountains on earth, from which frost proceeds, while days, seasons, and years depart and pass away, 7 rivers upon earth, greater than all rivers, one of which takes its course from the west, and into a great sea its waters flow. 2 come from the north to the sea, their waters flowing into the Ethiopian Sea on the east. With respect to the remaining 4, they take their course in the cavity of the north, and 2 are poured into a great sea, where also it is said there is a desert. Enoch saw all of these when he traveled with the holy angels above the earth. These instructions Enoch gave to Methuselah, that generations upon generations might know them. The name of the sun is the greater light of perfection. The moon has 4 names. The first is the full moon, the second is the first quarter, the third is the third quarter, and the fourth is the last quarter, which becomes a new moon. These are the 2 great luminaries over the earth. All of these orbs are like the orbs of heaven, being the same in their dimensionality, spherical, appearing equally in the sky. In the orb of the sun there is a 7th portion of light, which is added to the moon from it. By measure it is put in until a 7th portion of the light of the sun is departed. They enter into their western gates, circuit by the north, and through the eastern gate, go forth over the face of heaven. When the moon rises, it appears in heaven, and the half of a 7th portion of light is in it. In 14 days, the whole of its light is completed. By 3 quintuples, light is put into it, until 15 days its light is completed, according to the signs of the year, because it has 3 quintuples. The moon has the half of a 7th portion. During its diminution, on the first day its light decreases a 14th part. On the second day it decreases a 13th part. On the third day it decreases a 12th part. On the 4th day an 11th part. On the 5th day a 10th part. On the 6th day a 9th part. On the 7th day an 8th part. On the 8th day a 7th part. On the 9th day a 6th part. On the 10th day a 5th part. On the 11th day it decreases 4th part. On the 12th day it decreases the 3rd part. On the 13th day it decreases the 2nd part. On the 14th day it decreases the 1st part. On the 15th day the whole remainder of its light is consumed. On a specific month, the month has 29 days. It also has a period of 28 days. Uriel also showed Enoch another regulation, how light poured into the moon from the sun. All the time that the moon is in progress with its light, the light is poured into it in the presence of the sun as a reflection, until its light is in 14 days completed in heaven. When it is wholly extinguished, its light is consumed in the heaven, with the earth being the sun and the moon, and this is the day when it is the new moon, for light on that day is received into it, on the side facing the sun. The phase becomes precisely completed on the day that the sun descends into the west, while the moon ascends at night from the east. The moon then shines all the night until the sun rises before the time when the moon disappears in turn before the sun. Where light comes to the moon, there again it decreases until all its light is extinguished, and the days of the moon pass away. Then its orb remains solitary without light. During 3 months the cycle is 30 days for each month, and during 3 more months the cycle is 29 days for each month. These are the times in which its cycles decrease, in its first period and in the first gate, namely 177 days, and at the time of its going forth during 3 months. The moon appears 30 days each, and during 3 more months it appears 29 days. In the night it appears for each 20 days, as the face of a man, and in the day as heaven, for it is nothing else except shadow and light. Now Enoch had shown his son, Methuselah, everything, and on the account of every ordinance of the sun in heavens completed, Enoch showed his son every ordinance respecting these luminaries, which take place at all times and in all seasons, under every influence, in all years, at the arrival and under the rule of each, during each month and every week. Enoch showed his sons the decrease of the moon, which is effected in the 6th gate, for in that 6th gate is its light consumed. From this one day is the beginning of the month, and its decrease is effected in the 6th gate in its period, until 177 days are completed. According to the mode of computation by weeks, 25 weeks and 2 days total, its period is less than that of the sun. According to the ordinance of the stars, by 5 days and 1/2 year precisely, when their visible situation has completed, such is the appearance and likeness of every luminary, which Uriel, the great angel who conducts them, showed to Enoch, that he might have this knowledge first. In those days Uriel spoke to Enoch, saying,
Behold, I have shown thee all things, O Enoch, all things I have revealed to thee. Thou hast seen the sun, the moon, and those which conduct the stars of heaven, which cause all their operations, seasons and arrivals to earth. In the days of sinners the years shall be shortened, their seed shall be backward in their prolific soil, and everything done on earth shall be subverted, disappearing in its season. The rain will be held back, and heaven will stand still. In those days the fruits of the earth will be late, nor will they flourish in their season. The fruits of the trees will be held back. The moon will change its laws, and it will not be seen at its proper phases and times. However, in those days heaven will be seen, and the barrenness shall overtake the place along the borders of the distant nation of the great chariots in the west. Heaven will shine more at that time, compared to when illuminated by the orders of natural cycles, while many chiefs, having authority of the stars, will err by perverting the ways and works of those powers. These lights in the sky and upon the earth will not appear in their normal seasons, because all of those who command them and those classes of the stars will be opened and unleashed against sinners. The thoughts of those who dwell on earth will transgress within their minds, and they shall all become perverted in their ways. They will transgress and think themselves gods, that they could defy God's commandments for the naturality of man and woman, that they abandon the concept of marriage between men and women by allowing men to marry men and women to marry women, and by allowing them to change their sex with surgery. While evil will be multiplied among them, punishment will come upon them all for their wickedness and sexual immorality, so that all of them will be destroyed and suffer a secret punishment forever and ever. Thus it is as God commands, and as said here in these words plainly stated for all to know.
Part 3, Canto 2, Enoch's Homecoming and Guidance for His Family. The angel of the Lord came to Enoch and said,
O Enoch, look on the book which heaven has gradually dropped down unto you. Read all that is written in it, and understand every part of it.
Then Enoch looked on all which was written. He understood all of it, reading all of the book, and everything written in it about all the works of man, and of all the children of flesh upon the earth during the generations of the world. He knew what all of it told, and he knew there was more to all of it than was important to him in his time, because it was the word of God for men on earth in all time to come. Immediately Enoch blessed the Lord, the King of glory, who has thus forever formed the whole workmanship of the world. He glorified the Lord on account of his long suffering and blessings towards the children of the world, that he has left this book for them to read. At that time Enoch said,
Blessed is the man who shall die righteous and good, against whom no catalogue of crime has been written, and with whom iniquity is not found.
Then the 3 holy watchers came to Enoch and brought him forth from his spiritual rest, placing him once again on earth in physical form at the very door of his family's house. They said to Enoch,
Explain everything to Methuselah thy son, and inform all thy children, that no flesh shall be justified before the Lord, for he is their creator.
It might not have been known to Enoch, who did not have a mirror, that his appearance was not familiar to his family. Enoch's family needed to understand that no human flesh lasts forever, and that God is the Creator, who is capable of making new flesh and filling it with the everlasting spirit of Enoch.
During 1 year we will leave thee with thy children, until you shall again recover your strength, that thou mayest instruct thy family. Write all of these things we have shown thee, and explain all of it to thy family. In another year we will return to take thee from them, and thou wilt be joyous and strong in heart. The elect shall point out righteousness to the elect, and the righteous with the righteous shall rejoice, congratulating each other with celebrations. However, the sinners with sinners shall die, and the perverted with the perverted will be drowned. Those who act unrighteously shall die on account of men, and those deeds shall together be on account of the wicked.
In those days, the holy angels finished conversing with Enoch, and he returned to be among his sons and family, blessing the Lord of worlds and the universe for having seen much of it, while he was with the watchers, who departed the earth in their holy conveyance after dropping him off at his house. Enoch addressed his son, telling him that all these things, all the truths in this book that he wrote for him and his sons to come, that these Antediluvian Revelations are his gift to them and future generations. Enoch said,
Preserve, my son Methuselah, the books written by thy father, that thou mayest transmit them to future generations. Wisdom I have given to thee, thy children and posterity, that they may transmit these truths to their children for generations forever. This wisdom will be in their thoughts, so that those who comprehend it may not slumber, but they will hear with their ears, that they may learn this wisdom, being deemed worthy of consuming this wholesome food. Blessed are all the righteous, blessed are all who walk the path of angels in righteousness, in whom is found no crime as sinners, when all of their days are numbered. With respect to the progress of the sun in heaven, it enters and goes out of each gate for 30 days. with the leaders of the 1,000 classes of the stars, with 4 which are added pertaining to the 4 quarters of the year, which conduct them and accompany them at 4 periods. Respecting the 4 archangels, men greatly err, and do not compute them in the computation of every age. Men greatly err respecting them, nor do men know them accurately, that they are in the computation of the year. But indeed these are marked down forever, 1 in the first gate, 1 in the third, 1 in the fourth, and 1 in the sixth, so that the year is completed in 364 days.
Enoch's words may have been a prophecy of some great mistake to come. It was in the year 1346 discovered, as such being plundered, that the error of men was great, and they did calumniate the Lord. Pagans plundered the Ark of the Covenant, but they also discarded the truth hidden within the box. Enoch paused for a moment because he knew something that Methuselah would not understand, that men would disagree with this accounting without knowing how it came to be calculated at a distance from the earth itself, and not upon the earth as other men will do. He continued speaking with confidence in his correctness.
This computation has truly been stated, and accurately has been calculated. That which is marked down for the luminaries, the months, the fixed periods, the years, and the days, Uriel has explained it all to me, and communicated to me, whom the Lord of all creation, on my account, commanded him to explain the laws of light to man, of the sun, moon, and stars, that he should tell me to tell all of mankind about all the powers of heaven, which are turned with their respective orbs. This is the law of the stars which set in their places, in their seasons, in their periods, in their days, and in their months.
Now that he had emphatically corrected any who might dare to disagree, or to state that there was any different calculation of a year by its days, such that there was a sum not the same as his, Enoch continued with the next of his lessons, speaking to his son Methuselah. He said,
These are the names of those who conduct them, who watch and enter in their seasons, according to their ordinance, in their periods, in their months, in the times of their influence, and in their stations. 4 conductors who separate the 4 quarters of the year enter first. After these 12 conductors of their own classes who separate the months and the year into 364 days, with the leaders of 1,000 who distinguish between the days, as well as between 4 additional ones, which as conductors divide the 4 quarters of the year. These leaders of 1,000 are in the midst of the conductors. The conductors are added each behind his station, and their conductors make the separation. These are the names of the parts who separate the 4 quarters of the year. The great King of the world, divinely inspired, and flowing like a river from God. The names of those who conduct them are rejoicing in the powerful light taught by God. These are those who follow after the conductors of the classes of stars, each following after 3 classes, which themselves follow after those conductors of stations, who divide the 4 quarters of the year. In the first part of the year, the brilliant sun rises and rules, as king of the sky, and is named the Southern Shining One. All the days of his influence during which he rules are 91 days.
Methuselah understood that these names were of the seasons that came to the earth, but he still listened as Enoch spoke and said,
These are the signs of the days which are seen upon the earth. In the days of his influence there is perspiration, heat, and trouble among the kings, those princes of the world who will plot destruction. The trees become fruitful with everything blooming, and growth among the righteous like never before. The corn is harvested, the rose and every species of flowers blossom in the field, and the trees of wintry lies are vanquished. These are the names of the conductors who are behind all of the trouble, the one who claims the power of lightning, his shadow hiding in darkness, and the one who is his dark disciple to follow. The other conductor who follows after them will be the King of the world, whose name they call the Splendid Shining One. All the days of his light are 91 days. These are the signs of the days upon earth, heat and drought, while the trees bring forth fruit, warm and concocted, giving their fruits to dry. The flocks follow and yean new kids. All the fruits of the earth are collected, with everything in the fields and the vines trodden. This takes place during the time of his influence. These are their names and orders, and the names of the conductors who are under them, of those who are chiefs of 1,000. In defense of the Lord, the mighty godlike, the name of the traditional leader of 1,000 is the manifestation of God's mighty destroying angel, who will reap the earth of all its inhabitants until the days of his influence have been completed.
Nearly at the end of instructions about the luminaries, Enoch settled back and studied his books. Before beginning to speak some more, he said,
And now I have shown thee, my son Methuselah, every sight which I saw prior to thy birth. I will relate another vision, which I saw before I was married, because they resemble each other. The first was when I was learning a book, and the other before I was married to thy mother. I saw a potent vision, and on account of this vision I besought the Lord. I was laying down in the house of my grandfather Malaleel, when I saw in a vision heaven purifying and snatched away. I felt I was fallen to the earth, and I saw likewise the earth absorbed by a great abyss, with mountains suspended over mountains. Hills were sinking into hill, lofty trees were gliding off their trunks, and all were in the act of being projected and sinking into the abyss. Being alarmed at these things, my voice faltered. I cried out and said, The earth is destroyed. Then my grandfather Malaleel raised me up and said to me, Why dost thou cry out thus, my son? And wherefore dost thou thus lament? I related to him the whole vision which I had seen. He said to me, Confirmed is that which thou hast seen, my son, and potent the vision of thy dream respecting every secret sin of earth. Its substance shall sink into the abyss, and a great destruction will take place. Now, my son, rise up and beseech the Lord of glory, for thou art faithful that a remnant may be left upon the earth, and that he would not wholly destroy it. My son, all this calamity upon earth comes down from heaven, and upon earth there will be a great destruction. Then I arose, prayed, and entreated the Lord, writing down my prayer for the generations of the world.
Enoch finished explaining everything to his son Methuselah. He went outside and looked up into the heaven to see the sun proceeding from the east, the moon descending to the west, a few scattered stars, and everything else which God has known from the beginning. He blessed the Lord of judgment and magnified him, because he hath sent forth the sun from the chambers of the east, that ascending and rising in the face of heaven, it might spring up and pursue the path which has been pointed out to it. Enoch lifted up his hands in righteousness and blessed the Holy and Great One. He spoke with the breath of his mouth and with a tongue of flesh which God had formed for all the sons of mortal men, that they may speak, giving them breath, a mouth, and a tongue to converse with.
Blessed art thou, O Lord, the King great and powerful in thy greatness, Lord of all the creatures of heaven, King of kings, God of the whole world, whose reign, whose kingdom, and whose majesty endure forever and ever. From generation to generation shall thy dominion exist. All the heavens are thy throne forever, and all the earth thy footstool forever and ever. For thou hast made them, and over all thou reigns. No act whatsoever exceeds thy power. With thee wisdom is unchangeable, nor from thy throne and from thy presence is it ever averted. Thou knows all things, sees and hears them. Nothing is concealed from thee, for thou perceives all things. The angels of thy heavens have transgressed, and on mortal flesh shall thy wrath remain, until the day of the great judgment. Now then, O God, Lord and mighty King, I entreat thee and beseech thee to grant my prayer, that a posterity may be left to me on earth, that the whole human race may not perish, and that the earth may not be left destitute, and destruction take place forever. O my Lord, let the alien race, which has offended thee, perish from off the earth, but a righteous and upright human race, established for posterity forever. Hide not thy face, O Lord, from the prayer of thy servant.
Almighty God heard Enoch's plea for mankind, and he determined that there would be a remnant of life that would survive on earth with other innocent creatures. Enoch's great-grandson would be their savior. Noah would become an elect one, whose righteousness and faith in God would ensure the survival of the human race. This concludes this episode of Antediluvian Revelations, a poetic retelling of the Book of Enoch, the prophet. Be sure to subscribe or follow for notifications of new releases. Thank you for listening. I am Michael.